Hello and welcome back. So, I got to completed phase 4. So I'm on phase 5, the final phase of the game. Phase 4, I had to make, see in the top left corner, you can see 1,000. The first one's nuclear pasta, 1,000 of, I'm not sure what that is, 256, I think that's like an ANI thing, and 200, whatever those are, right? So I only had to make 100 nuclear pasta last time, and it blew out my power grid. Yeah, I think I wanted to do kind of just a tour of where I'm at the beginning of phase 5 because I feel like a lot is going to have to change because there's so much to get done. So I still have my train station here. I still have this setup. This is like my third iteration of making steel production and concrete. This is my original 2 steel mines, iron mines. I kind of dismantled, this used to be Christmas stuff. I've kind of dismantled it. There's all my Christmas stuff there. I boxed it all up, till next year. My tree is still there. I guess I could stay. This is copper production. This is the original copper mine I've had. Have done nothing more with it. That's still connected over there to the train station. Continuing on over here, this is kind of like an abandoned, this used to be a section where I was making plastic stuff. This was like, it was making computers, apparently. At one point, do I have? Oh, wow. All right, I'll have to remember that. So this is kind of like an old section that I just stopped using. That's a whole nother copper mine that was doing copper, and I think I was making like AI controllers at one point here. Yeah. So this was like my original when I was like carrying plastic all the way from my first truck route, and I would bring it over here because I didn't need that many computers, that many everything. And then this was coated steel beams. I'll just grab those while I'm here. Oh, there's a ton of them. Okay, I have space. This was coated steel beams where I was using some of the coal. This is my original coal. One of my first videos, I just kind of showed you how I had like traced 4 coal things all the way down to that coal mine all over there. And originally I was going to like try to have a truck stop here. I split it into 4 coal lines. I've since condensed it down, upgraded that miner. So now it's just 1 set of coal. Well, 2, I guess, 2 lines, but. And as you can see, there's still like leftover pieces. This is where some of the coal went up there because that was an iron mine and that was like steel. So that was kind of like my first steel. I needed those beams. And I had steel going on the other side. I'll get back to that when I circle around. This used to be where the coal came together for these coal power plants. These are no longer in use. Some of them still have coal. Some of them don't. Just the infrastructure, I needed the coal for something else, and I'm also using the water for something else now. So like I could generate electricity if I absolutely needed to, but like I don't know. And then why take them down? They're already here. That's just another pain in the ass to do. So I just left them kind of there. All this coal is now being devoted or detoured down here. Stay on this track, so I still have jetpack power. To this train station here, this is steel production, so all of that coal comes and splits into 2 sections. It comes over here for steel. Steel goes onto the train, and aluminum also goes onto the train. The rest of the coal, there's 3 mines over here producing a ton of iron, way more iron than I need. They're just doing it to get steel production, and then I have a little bit up here for something going on. I'll explain in a bit when I get over there. So this coal seam over here comes over here. This is my aluminum production facility that I have struggled with for all of time to get to work correctly, and it has been a headache. The coal is easy enough. These are still only going at 50%, simply because they produce so much aluminum scrap and take up so much solution that I usually have an excess of aluminum scrap here, which is okay sometimes when I have an excess of silica, but each of these that produces the aluminum solution produces only 5 silica, which is like just enough for 1 set of aluminum. So for a while, I was just letting that do itself, and then I was walking all the way down to where I have silica over there, I'll explain, and I was like physically dropping it off once in a while. And now I have a small, not a truck, but a tractor route here that will bring in additional silica to throw in there to start making aluminum, because I need a lot more aluminum now, because I'm doing a lot more with aluminum. And again, this is kind of cool. I like how this game works, and it forces you to kind of adapt, because like I didn't know I was going to need all of this aluminum, right? Like I knew I was going to need some, but I didn't know how much I was going to need. And I was kind of building it for what I needed at the time, and then I've had to adjust as you go on. And I think that's kind of the cool thing about the game, and I talked in another video about how it kind of makes sense in like actual systems, because you don't know how much you need, so you just kind of take what you can in the moment, and then all of a sudden before you know it, you're like, well, crap, we need to double production, or we need to add something, and then you're just doing, right? So like I feel like this is pretty well organized, because I kind of knew this, and then I have struggled to try to get this to maintain its output. I constantly, not all the time, way less more now, but I used to have to come over all the time to check stuff. At one point I had too much of this aluminum scrap, and so I was like feeding it into this maw over here just to get rid of it, instead of having to delete it myself, because it would like stop up production. But then I found out more silica, so then I've like run out of aluminum scrap because I had so much silica. It's a headache that I'm still figuring out, but that's also kind of the fun on the game. As you can see, this truck is going to be powered by batteries here, because so the bauxite comes in. I've gone over my bauxite factory before, but I actually finally went over there, kill stupid radioactive pigs so I could plant another miner. So I have more bauxite that comes in that's required for aluminum. Still my original 3 aluminums. Still a bunch of piping, but over here I think I showed a little bit of my sulfur factory producing batteries. I've got a ton of batteries. They are really fuel efficient for vehicles. So I have a sulfur truck that goes up into the hills over there, comes back, just sulfur. I have so much sulfur that I actually have to divert some of it, because this is basically always full. So I have some of it just diverted to get rid of just because. This is the concrete production. There is a limestone mine down there that kind of just sends a little bit of limestone over here. This is my 2 sulfuric acid facilities. I have started to have to kind of monitor this area a little bit to make sure that these are not too full of sulfuric acid, because I don't want to get it too full. I had to set up some valves here because this is uranium production. Or not production, but this produces uranium like power cells, those things down there, which then get turned into uranium fuel rods. So this drone goes way over to a uranium mine in the cave down there, brings uranium back. I have way more uranium than I could possibly need. I originally had this clever idea of I would produce the cells here, put them into the output. One drone would come here and just drop off uranium and go back, and then another drone would come from where my power plants are to pick up the cells and back. But then I found out like I was getting this weird stoppage, and it turns out the drone that was dropping off the uranium was also taking the power cells, but then like couldn't drop them off because it got full over there. And so I was like, oh geez. So I just built a second drone port, you know? I don't know if maybe I'm doing drones wrong. I don't know. But these are all powered by batteries from over there. In addition, now my sulfuric acid is also using batteries, going for the uranium, and then, yeah, I'm going to have to use some of it later, I think. I'll explain that in a little bit. Anyway, this is water. This was a giant hassle getting this water correctly as well, because, yeah, see, these are like kind of full. Well, see, this one's full, so like we're just going to flush it right now, right? And I'm glad I came over here and checked it, because sometimes I have too much freaking water, because I wasn't like, I had to turn these back on, because no matter how I counted the water up, that produces a byproduct of water. Some of the sulfur produces a byproduct of water, and then that sulfur needs water. Like batteries produce water. This sulfur needs water. I had to set up valves and like pumps, because it just wasn't like getting enough. So like then my sulfuric acid process was stopping, and it was just a big thing. So I built this ridiculous kind of backdrop of water that thankfully now doesn't like always fill up, because I have all these industrial fluid buffers and valves trying to make sure that it doesn't back up into itself, just to keep water going, and I guess and it's been going. This has been good. I haven't had to come check on this in a really long time, which is good. I also have a third water producer. I guess I could like tie in the extra water from that over here, but that, not ready for that yet. So some of my aluminum is diverted over here into casings, and those casings go and become batteries. Some of my aluminum is, well, you can't really see it, but into like metal canisters. I guess you can see them here, these. And then these are incoming. I'm bottling nitrogen gas at a different place, somewhat near where the bauxite is, and I'll go over and show that. Maybe I'll do maybe I'll do like a part 2 where I'll just teleport, get myself over there, and I can show you the second half. That'll be cool. So I have this neat system where, again, batteries, I just filled this up because the drones don't actually use that much batteries, because batteries are, it turns out, a pretty efficient fuel source. And I have a ton of them that just keep making. So I send aluminum bottles here. This drone flies off to a bottling facility, comes back with nitrogen gas. Nitrogen gas is 100% piled up. Actually, this is going to create another backstop problem where I'm probably not going to have enough space. This is going to fill up. I'm going to have too much nitrogen, but luckily I have to work on that. That's a different problem. Anyway, comes to an unbottling facility, turns that into gas. Gas goes into here. Here makes nitric acid. Needs water, iron plates, so I have diverted, that was the word I've been looking for, damn. Some of that iron over there, because I have a ton of access for steel, to come over here just to make iron plates, just for this acid. And then I kind of have this little system where this bottler produces, it like gives you the nitrogen, it opens the gas, and then you have a fluid tank, right? So then it sends the fluid tank over here, down there. So the gas goes into here, mixes with water and some iron, becomes nitric acid. The acid, this is kind of my overflow, comes over here. This is a bottling facility. Packages the nitric acid in those empty fluid tanks that the gas was in, puts those into this drone facility over here. This drone flies it. I'll show you all the way out where my oil production is, and I'm making rocket fuel with it. And then it brings back those empty gas containers. Once it goes to another plant down there, unpackages the nitric acid, and then the empty gas container comes all the way back up here and just circles back around into the machine. It gets sent back into here, which is also where like some of it's being produced anyway. It gets sent out, it gets bottled into nitrogen gas, and it comes back. Is this system sustainable? Probably not, because I'm probably going to have way too many fluid tanks, and I mean, I didn't stop to do the math of exactly how many fluid tanks I need per time, given the time it takes a drone to fly and all that, because that was really complicated, and I just needed to get it done. And so that's kind of what happens sometimes, you know? Things get really complicated, you need to get it done, and you just figure it out in the moment. So that's this section over here. We're gonna ride the rails. Well, not the rails, I guess the power lines. Back to my main little factory over here. I had to produce additional concrete because I have been doing a lot with concrete. So I actually am also producing a ton of additional copper bars because I've had to overclock a lot of my copper machinery because I need to make way more copper wires than I had and way more copper sheets, forgot they were called, wires. I needed to make a ton more, and yeah, regular copper wire, as you can see, is kind of going down. So I'm going to have to play with these numbers again. I had them all overclocked, and then I just had too much. I had copper like coming out the wazoo. I didn't know what to do with it all. There was just too much copper. And now I got to play again with that because I also have a ton of copper coming into this machine, and it is producing copper powder. I have a ton of copper powder here. That, because those 1,000 nuclear pasta are going to take copper powder and a bunch of other stuff, and they take a really long time to make. So I had to get that kind of started. Most of this down here has not changed. Aluminum comes in here. The train is, instead of me bringing plastic physically over there for computer parts. The train now comes in, trucks in my plastic, my quick wire, and my rubber to here. These kind of go, this is a little extra because for a while I had shut down some of this because I didn't need it. So then the train was still coming in with plastic and quick wire, and then I, like, what am I going to do? So I was using it to get kind of coupons, right? Like I have 20 coupons I can get. That's my overflow. Up into here, I think I showed the one video that everything kind of comes together to make that down there, that thing, that's my particle accelerator. But again, so this is another drone port because I'm using some aluminum to make cooling things, to make some aluminum casing, and to make some of those iron reinforced square things that I was sending droning to the other side where the oil is, because I was making these cooling units. And then I've been making these like modular frames, which I was using for a part last time. It's still set up. I don't actually need this part in the moment right now, so I have kind of everything on pause, but the materials are still set up to do it, because now I needed to make for the next part there, after the nuclear pasta, the next 1,000 up there, I need these assembly directors. So I need a ton of these. So I had to go in and refix my machinery, change some things back around, get computers producing at a faster rate again, high-speed connectors going, which again threw off my copper production, because a lot of this was, or threw off like copper and a lot actually, because I need a lot of copper for wires and for sheets to make all this kind of stuff. And then I kind of just went in and I changed here. These were producing modular engines, and now I have this one instead producing the adaptive control units. And I'm trying to make it so that everything's kind of even. So like this was producing chip parts, now producing automated wiring, and it's trying to get the math at least added up enough to keep that producing, because I'm going to need like 1,000 of those, and that's going to take a long time, which is also why I want to get the nuclear pasta going, because that's going to take a long time too. So this whole section it's modular, but not like it's modular in that like my basic, I know what these do, right? And it looks like a huge mess, because it is, because like there's just shit everywhere going everywhere all at once, right? But I know what they do for the most part, and I know where I'm sending what. And I've gotten most of it down so that I'm producing in excess. So like I have a ton of it, and like you might be like, whoa, like why do you have, because it sucks when this is suddenly empty and you're like, oh shit, and everything stopped and everything grinds to a halt, and you're trying to produce, 15, 16 different items, and they have different speeds that they're produced by, they have different materials, so it gets really complex. But it's also a lot of fun trying to figure it out. Like this is my first, I didn't look up any online designs, as I said before. I've kept off the internet, I've kept off messaging boards for the most part. I'm just kind of figuring it out on my own for my first game here to see what I like, and it's been fun. It's been fun like putting out fires, fixing things, being like, oh crap, like how do I make this go here and do this, and it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it. And so for the final tour of like my main area here, this is my nuclear power plants. I now have 3, because as I said, I blew out my power. Didn't realize I blew out my power until I was like fixing something way on the other side of the map, and all of a sudden it just went boom, and everything shut down. And I was like, why did everything shut down? What is going on? Turns out I was using more power than even my one plant was generating, and I was running on backup power because I have some batteries. Big ass battery storage things, and I didn't even pay attention to it, because you can check your power here. You see the 100% on the side over there. That means my backup batteries are 100%. I'm only consuming 6,000 now. At the time I was consuming like 12,000 and only producing like 10. Now I'm producing 14-ish, 13, 14 depending. And yeah, I had so much going that I just poof. And luckily this entire factory section, I've actually isolated the nuclear power plant too. The nuclear power plants are separate from this power grid. This is all one power grid, and I have one switch over there that I can turn all of it off. So I had to come over here, I had to turn everything off on this whole section, turn back on my power, find out, like, because in order to generate power at this stage you need power, right? Like I have fuel factories down there that needed fuel to run, but like in order to run fuel, they had to have the fuel plants running, and the fuel plants that are producing the fuel require power, and so it was just like, oh crap. I just shut as much down as I could, and it took me a good long time to fix it, but now I have 3 nuclear power plants going here. And they are producing, since the one here has produced all this waste. You can't delete waste. I don't think you can feed it to the awesome. You have to do something with it, or store it indefinitely like we do in the real world. My plan and my goal, there is a way to turn waste into plutonium, to turn it into plutonium fuel rods, and it is a complicated process. But I think I had something that's kind of like next on my list. Right now I'm producing enough uranium fuel rods. This is doing 0.8 per minute. I have a little overclocked in case uranium cells. I just have tons of them because I'm just irritating the world here. So, and each one of these burns about 2 per minute, 0.2, and this produces 0.8, and I have 3, and I had a big stockpile of them beforehand. So I'm starting to build a stockpile. I have uranium rods. I have power from these nuclear power plants. If I need to add a 4th, I can. I don't think I need to at the moment. Part of the problem, too, was figuring out the water because they require so much water. And I had these originally pumping all together into like one thing, and I separated them to 3 individual pumps. So each nuclear power plant gets its own water pump just to make sure that it is sufficiently, its thirst is sufficiently quenched. And then this particle accelerator over here is where I actually came over to drop these off. And let's see, I should be able to get this bad boy going again. It takes a tremendous amount of electricity. It can, wow, see, it's powering up to like 2,000 something watts, right? Like up to 6,000 this thing can use. So that is why I was draining my battery before, because I didn't realize how much electricity it was using. So now I'm consuming 9,000, right? Out of 13,000, 10,000. Like, I kind of need to monitor this now to make sure that it can actually do that, because I didn't realize how much nuclear pasta actually takes. And then it goes back down, and then it like comes up, and then it goes down, and then it comes up and it goes down. As the nuclear pasta creates, it generates a huge amount of electricity, or uses a huge amount of electricity. Like, it's revving up, and then it like revs down, and then it revs up, and then it revs down. And yeah, I had no idea. See, you can hear it kind of cycling. And is it going to start counting down? Maybe? Maybe? I don't know. Holy shit. Maybe I didn't actually watch this thing. Anyway, I might just blow out my power grid again. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, wow. Okay. So anyway, that needs to go, and I need to produce 1,000 of those. But that is not the only thing I need that power accelerator, or that particle accelerator for. You also need it for a bunch of other new stuff in Phase 5. So that is my tour of my main base for Phase 5. I will produce... I'll make another video showing you my little sub-bases as well. I kind of want to also, just for the record, kind of see where I'm at now, and I'd be curious to see how things change in the future. So yeah, catch you in the next one.